Welcome to the CEO Insider Podcast, powered by YTexas. My name is Sandy McIlree. In this episode, we'll talk to the CEO of the Dallas Entrepreneur Center, otherwise known as the DEC, Alyce Alston. Throughout her career, Alyce has consistently led small to middle market businesses and divisions of large organizations to record profits. Business spans of all life stages, startup to mature, reinvention to turnaround, in profit, nonprofit, and mission-driven industries. Alyce is a product innovator as well, having launched new products and businesses every year since 2000, working with companies like De Beers, Culture Map, Relationship First, and the Oprah Magazine. Enjoy this episode of the CEO Insider Podcast with peanut M&M lover and Chief Executive Officer of the Dallas Entrepreneur Center, Alyce Alston. I know that you're getting close to Startup Week in Dallas. So before we jump into the Dallas Entrepreneur Center, can you tell our audience a little bit about Startup Week?
All right. Well, it's Dallas Startup Week, and I'm so thankful that you asked because we're super excited. It's our 5th anniversary, and we're expecting about 8,000 entrepreneurs, change makers, investors. We have about, I used to say 150 sessions. We now have about 175 sessions. And those sessions are grouped in different categories. So if you're into health, or if you're into retail, or if you're into hospitality, you can choose the track you're most interested in and then find the sessions that are for you. And also, we have tracks that are on the emerging technologies that are impacting all those businesses, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like artificial intelligence or, augmented reality, or blockchain. And so you can go to the emerging technologies track. But basically, overall, there's something for, I think, everyone all day and into the evenings. And it's a remarkable event.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, is this event for someone that is literally starting a business for the very first time? Like they just quit their job. They said, to heck with this. I'm going to go do something on my own. Is it for them?
Oh, it's totally for them.
Okay.
It's really for anybody. Think about it. If you're even into like what's hot and what's next, where would you go? Where would you go that had a full week of events of emerging technologies and the newest things that are happening and the newest businesses that are launching? So if you're just into change make in general, like this is for you. But also it's somebody, starting a business, it's totally inspirational. There'll be lots of opportunities from, really if you're launching everything from, what is your product, what's your pitch, to what's your term sheet, to, basically, getting ready for your Series A and your Series B. So we work really hard to have a range of experts and speakers that can speak on, to entrepreneurs wherever they are in their life cycle.
I have to tell you a quick story, Alyce. It really doesn't matter how strange your idea might be, because there seems to be a market for just about anything. I just had lunch with a guy. He's an old friend of mine. He's an old boss of mine who went out and started his own business. And I want to tell you what he did, and it's unbelievable. He created something called plumber pens. And what it is, it's your regular ballpoint pen, and on the end of it is a toilet plunger. That's it.
Wow.
And it is a marketing tool for plumbers. You would not believe how many of these silly pens he sells.
You know what? I'm not surprised. If somebody who sees like a need and they go, I'm going to like create that for that need, right?
Uh-huh.
And that's the way that they can promote and communicate what they do, right? Now, I hope the thing really doesn't go in the toilet, right?
You couldn't resist, could you?
Anyway, that's what I love about Dallas Startup Week. You walk around and we even invite people. It's sort of like a showcase to showcase their products. And so you see things moving. You see people in sign language being translated into text on screen. So you see all the innovation live, right? And it's fun, right, to see those stories and hear those stories. And the thing I love about what you just talked about was that, it really, to start a business, you hire people, but the most important thing is that our entrepreneurs are really part of our economy in the sense that they represent 50% of all job growth. And I really try to say that to people because I want to say, Dallas Startup Week and entrepreneurs, we want to champion them, right? All of us, because that's our economic impact, right? That's our job growth. So your friend who started that business, I don't know if they've hired anybody yet. Has he hired anybody?
A few.
There you go. And you know what? There you go with that entrepreneur who's supporting his family, right?
Yeah.
And that community is a stronger community. Our city's a stronger community. So we have to support our entrepreneurs.
You have a very interesting past. You've worked with the biggest name in the world in launching her magazine. Do you mind talking a little bit about helping launch the Oprah magazine?
Oh, that's so funny. Yeah. I've worked for a lot of different types of companies, from large businesses, but I was always innovating within those large, multi-billion dollar companies, whether it was with the Oprah magazine or launching De Beers Jewelers here in the United States. And it wasn't until later in my career that I transitioned with a private equity firm to Texas and ran a middle market company around 300 million. And after I sold that, my kids liked it down here. We were from New York, and I was like, what am I going to do in Texas? And what do you do in Texas? You start a business. I was in Austin. Everybody starts a business in Austin, right?
Right, everyone.
That's when I joined. That's when I started Culture Map with some really incredible investors. It's a digital media company. But the Oprah magazine, that was kind of incredible. I was a very young publisher. I was working at a magazine called YM, and I bet you would never know what that is.
Young Miss?
Yes! I know that.
I have a sister.
Oh my God, we're showing our age.
Yeah.
The publisher of Young Miss, so proud and running around. I was like 28 years old, and but I was like, okay, I've done this. And I got a call from Hearst that they had a job, and it was a joint venture with Harpo and with Hearst. And Hearst is a publishing company in New York, and so I knew some of the executives there, and amazingly the CEO, Kathy Black. And they interviewed me for the position, and I was their number one pick. And so, and don't ask me why. I can't believe I was so I can't even believe it. And so they had me interview with Oprah, right? And so I was the first person that Oprah interviewed for her magazine, and she hired me. And so there we went to launch Oprah.
Did you go, am I really sitting down across from Oprah Winfrey?
Yeah, I kind of freaked out. And, the thing was I was waiting for her all day. Not that she makes people wait on them, but I'd been waiting all day, and I was so hungry. I finally I was in an office that across the street, there's like a grocery store, that has like a buffet. So I went to go get something to eat, and they're calling me saying, get over here now. She's here.
Yeah.
So you like drop everything and you're running, the one moment you finally like go get something to eat. And when I got it, it was the most incredible thing that ever happened. I was just over the moon, and I don't know. It felt incredible, but I knew that I had a responsibility to do it unlike anybody else would. Like, that she's the bomb, right? So how are you going to do it even bigger and badder, right, than any other magazine? Because you've got her, that's the brand. So you have to think about how are you going to launch this and make this even more successful than any magazine launch in history. And that's what we did.
I'm curious, after you set your lunch down and you came back and she's waiting for you, before you walked into the office, did she say, please welcome Alyce Alston?
No. No. And behind the camera, absolutely not. But she's certainly, what's so beautiful about her is, she's gracious. She's actually, subdued, right? When she's not in front of the camera. And she was just so easy to talk to. And, I'm from Mississippi originally. And so we talked a lot about Mississippi. And so that kind of got us, kind of rooted in that down home.
Right.
And we took off from there.
In just a minute, I want to talk. You mentioned a couple of things that I want to talk about. One is that everyone seems to start a business in Austin, a very strong startup community, but not so much in Dallas. I want to hear what people may need to know, what you think they need to know about starting a business in Austin. I also want to talk about startup capital. And Texas, not really. I mean, Texas doesn't have the best reputation for startup capital. I would
Yeah.
love your opinion on where that's going. But before we get to that, let's have some fun. I would like to do a rapid fire Q&A with you with Miss Alyce Alston. And these are very, very easy questions. Don't overthink them. Are you a person that overthinks things, or you just do?
I either go blank. So if I go blank, I'll just go blank.
Okay.
But anyway.
We'll give you a buzzer if you go blank, okay?
Okay, fine.
What's your favorite book of all time?
Maybe To Kill a Mockingbird.
What's the last?
Poisonwood Bible.
Okay. What's your favorite movie of all time?
I guess, it's just I saw A Star is Born, and I can't help but thinking about the first one, and it's so romantic. It's not probably my favorite, but boy, I love it.
Okay. Now the tough ones. Pie, cake, or cobbler?
Cobbler.
Football, basketball, baseball, hockey?
Football.
Alyce, you are in a karaoke bar, and you are being absolutely forced to sing a song. What is your go-to karaoke song?
Oh, I'm blanking. I don't think you could get me up on that stage. I think
if someone held a gun to my head and said, "Get up on stage or I shoot you," I would just say, "Just shoot me."
And it's hard. I have no stage fright, but I can't sing. I really can't. I just don't try.
Yeah, I can't either. I just the thought of having to do that. Let's get back to business. Austin, pretty thriving startup community. Dallas is a little bit different. Can you tell people what they would need to know about starting a business in Dallas, Texas?
No, it is different. It's different, and so it's a good question. I think that since I started one there, and really, I feel like I'm at a startup here because that's all I do is work with startups all day and all night. I think that Austin has the concentration, obviously, from a geographic standpoint. So you feel like you're a little more connected all the time with other startups, right?
Right.
So it's easier to feel like there's a ground zero, and you feel like everybody else is in startup mode because you're, a higher percent of the overall, population. You come to Dallas and you're a lot lower percent of the overall population, and it's, so spread out geographically that it's hard to find that connection point. So I think that there's as many resources here in Dallas, which I wouldn't have known. Just the number of co-working spaces, the incubators, the accelerators, health wildcatters, tech wildcatters, Launchpad. There's some incredible programs, but so I think that we probably rival Austin, in our programming and our support and our programs for entrepreneurs. But because we aren't as dense, we don't have the reputation for that.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does. The word gets around, and when things are, how do I say this? Like someone says Austin's the place to go to start up your business, they just take it for, okay, that's the place to go.
There's one thing about that I think is, and I think it's true. There's a lot to that because it has that density, it's that hipness and that coolness and that connectedness. The thing about Dallas is, I think you totally get, it's the cost of living.
Yeah.
When I moved from New York to Austin, and I'm not comparing or one-upping or championing one or the other. Texas rocks, right? It's the 10th largest economy in the world. So anyway, I'm happy if it's happening in Austin, Houston, or Dallas, right? And I will say when I moved from New York to Austin, I was shocked by the home prices. It is hard unless you live way far out.
Yeah.
The cost of living. So I think if you're a startup, I think the cost of living is one of the things that is most challenging. The cost of living here in Dallas is just, you can make it work for you. And there's so many different choices, and you still have a really good selection for schools for your kids if you have children. But I think that's a real upside. And I think there's something about Dallas. I think it's just starting to kind of, I guess it's like maybe at that tipping point, it's one of the top cities in the country of the number of tech jobs is in Dallas, right? So I think it's listed as number 4, right, in overall tech jobs. So, if you follow one of the patterns that you see in building startups and startup ecosystems, if you follow the talent and the tech talent, generally that's where you're going to start finding your startups. So I have a feeling that a lot of this tech talent, while it's in corporations, I think will start to sort of penetrate into your startup mode. So I think we're going to see more. I think we already have a robust startup community. Again, I think it's just it's so spread out, but I think it's going to grow probably, just by leaps and bounds, just because of the talent that has come here to Dallas. So I think we're going to see some momentum.
You said that you work with startups day in and day out, 24/7, and what a lot of startups need is capital. And Texas, not really known for being generous with startup capital. Do you see that continuing, or is that improving? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think we don't know exactly how much is really invested because we have a lot of family offices here. So I think sometimes when we look at the numbers, I'm not saying that they're great because I think there is still quite a huge disparity, right, between your East and West Coast. No doubt, right?
Right.
But I think there is more capital being infused in corporations, and I see it, and I hear it, and I know of them, but it's not made public. But I think that will shift. I do. I think that again with talent it will shift, and I think that it'll shift because there's such a bubble on the East and West Coast, and on the West Coast, with so many companies being overvalued, that investors have to start looking elsewhere. I think we have a responsibility in DFW to promote our startups and our startup community, and really, the innovation that's happening here. And I think that the more our city comes together and, champions and tells the story, I think that, people will start looking. I have investors who call me and say, I'm interested in women in health. I'm coming, startups. I'm coming to Dallas. Can you line those up for me? Right. So it's starting to happen.
Right.
That those investors are looking elsewhere, but they need it curated for them. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So that's part of the job that we try to do.
Let's talk now about the Dallas Entrepreneur Center, also known as the Deck, where you are the CEO. Can you tell our audience the work that the Deck and with Capital Factory, what's the story there? Was it a merger? What did you guys do together?
Well, first I'll tell you about the Deck,
Okay.
and then I'll tell you about our partnership. So the Dallas Entrepreneur Center is about 5 years old. Right now, we have 4 locations and 2 satellite locations. We call that, our innovation centers. In each of those innovation centers, we have ongoing programming, nearly every night or during the day. If you get our newsletter, I'm not trying to promote our newsletter, but if you go to the Deck, get our newsletter, you'll see that there are about 15 or 20 events every week happening, throughout all of our incubators, right?
Mm-hmm.
At all of our locations. And in all of our locations, we have, mentorship, as well. So that's one thing that the Deck does. It does 3 things. One thing is our locations. The second thing, and the programming and mentorship within those locations. And then the second thing is big events, right? And those are for the city, and that's like Dallas Startup Week or the State of Entrepreneurship, which is April 3rd, which is a huge Super Bowl of, what happened, what's hot, and what's next. So we put on those big city events. And then number 3 is really connecting entrepreneurs to corporations and to investors. And we have a couple of new initiatives doing that. So those are our 3 buckets. Mm-hmm. So now you ask about Capital Factory. So Capital Factory is one of our partners. Basically, they expanded, from Austin, which is totally exciting. And we're so excited for them to be here. And when they came to Dallas, Josh Baer said, you know what, let's get a partner who knows the market and that we can come in strong. And so we partnered, and I think as a result, we were all able to grow really fast. We do consider it one location and one partnership, and it's a really important one for us. And we partner with our location, we partner with our mentorship program, and we partnership with programming within the location. So it just, we're just so happy that they're here. We want to make them as successful as they possibly can be, right? And so that's really it on the partnership.
I just realized something. One of my very best friends in the world is a builder in Dallas, and he is part of your mentorship program. He mentors through your program.
Oh, I'm so glad. That's so great.
Yeah, I can't believe I didn't put those 2 and 2 together earlier. But let's talk about that. Let's talk about the mentorship. That's such a cool thing to do. If you've been successful in life and successful in business, the ability to help someone out to get to where you are is a really powerful thing that can change people's lives.
Yeah, and you have a responsibility to do it. And by the way, it feels so good.
Mm-hmm.
I mentored at Capital Factory while I lived in Austin, for years. So I felt like they were part of the family when they moved here. But it just, if you can give back, it's amazing. So, and if you can leverage your experiences, I think it's really important. And I think it's one of the most important things for entrepreneur, because you can have your head down and you're working so hard. You got to get your head up and you got to get out of your office or your home office,
Yeah.
right? And you need to connect, because your perspective can get warped really, really quickly, and your bubble gets really small really quickly. And you need somebody who's been around that block, right? And they can tell you what to look out for or what maybe you need help on. But without it, I can't even imagine.
Yeah, I think you hit on such an important thing when you're starting out a business, having done that, and you're just what I'm saying is you have to get out and play a little bit. You have to get out and socialize and be around.
It's hard to do,
It
right?
is.
Like you're like, oh, I need to work on my cash flow statement, or I need to work
Right.
on that sales presentation. So to go to that event, with other entrepreneurs and maybe some expert panelists, it's hard to make yourself go, right? But you get there, and I don't see, most people when they get to the events, I've seen people, I don't know, have all kind of experience and connections that they walk away with that, will change really the course of their business, right?
Yeah.
So, and I'm not being sort of dramatic. It's important. So, I as an entrepreneur was guilty too. I was lucky because I had a good mentor, just sort of fixed in. But yeah, I was working so hard. It was hard to think about getting out of my, out of my own zone. But you gotta connect, because your perspective is just gets skewed, and you need somebody else's worldview.
You're right. I took a look into some of your initiatives. I'd like to talk about a couple of them that stand out for me. SOAR. Tell me about the vision for this and what you plan on doing.
It started out with a cocktail party, nothing like having a couple of drinks. Right? So I basically was just having a party, and I thought, I'm like, these women are so innovative, right? That I know, whether it's entrepreneurs, and I know a lot of corporate innovators, just because that was the world that I came from. So when I came to Dallas, I, just connected really quickly with, from mid-size and, really Fortune 500 companies, executives, CTOs, CMOs, CIOs, and or head of innovation in some of the labs. And so when I started putting a list together, I thought, I'm just going to invite all the innovators, like the change makers. And it was just a party, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, but how interesting to have these people in the room, innovators in the world of civic, right? Like that are building the train that goes from Dallas to Houston, and then turn around and get somebody from United Way, and then get, one of our startups that does pickup service, right?
Right.
So, and I brought all of those people together, and there were about 100 of us, and people were like, this is the best party I've ever been to. I've met the most interesting people I've ever met. Because again, a lot of times the startup community kind of lives in their own silo,
right,
and corporations live in their own silo, and then education, that lives in its own silo. And so I made an effort to just really get those people out of each of those areas and put them in together. So then that launched this thought of change makers, innovators, and women of innovation. And so the umbrella to SOAR is called Women of Innovation, and it's being launched officially April the 3rd. Yes, April the 3rd during Startup Week. And it will have, again, change makers from, a diversity of markets, and recognizing women, who have done extraordinary things, and really taking an idea and translating it into reality, and the courage that takes. And so that's launching Women of Innovation. And through Women of Innovation, we're launching SOAR, which is going to be a mentorship program for women change makers, innovators. And we basically will match, more seasoned executives with up and coming executives for mentorship. So we have the mentorship platform, to work from. We've done it before, and this will just be a targeted program. But I think it's an incredibly important one. And I love also that they're from different markets, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not entrepreneurs mentoring entrepreneurs. It's you get the benefit of a corporate CMO maybe mentoring an entrepreneur, or an entrepreneur that is in emerging technologies and artificial intelligence, mentoring somebody in a corporation that needs to sort of step it up on the emerging technology side. So it's the sharing of information, right? And us growing together as women of innovation.
What do you do for fun?
Oh, I don't know. I walk the dog. I'm so boring. I mean, let me see. I have one daughter at home. My husband's a school teacher. And I would say on the weekend we eat Chinese, we cook, we walk the dog. I mean, and I'm a movie kind of crazy fanatic, so I'll go to the movie by myself in the middle of the day,
Yeah.
and eat M&Ms and a Diet Coke, which I don't know why you get a Diet Coke when you have M&Ms and not just drink a Coke.
Right.
So anyway, it's really my come down time because during the week I'm out nearly every week, every night at all our events. So on the weekend I'm pretty chill.
Alyce, do you go to one of the movie theaters where you can buy your ticket online ahead of time, reserve your seat? They've got full restaurant and bar.
Totally.
Okay.
Totally.
Let me give you a little trick that my very sneaky wife does. She's a movie nut like you are. She will go see anything. So she'll go by herself, and she doesn't want to sit by someone that would make a whole lot of noise or distract her. So what she'll do, she'll go online, she'll buy 2 tickets.
Yeah.
And then when she gets to the theater, she returns 1 ticket, so that guarantees the seat next to her is empty.
But wait, when you return it, do you get your money back?
Yeah, you do.
You shouldn't have told everybody. No, if you broadcast this, everybody's going to know.
I know, but I think it's awful. I think it's terrible that she does this.
No, I'm kind of into it.
Right.
I like your wife.
Yeah. Alyce, thank you so much for your time. I look forward to meeting you, and I'm sure hopefully that will be sometime soon.
Oh, I hope so. Okay.
All right. Take care, Alyce. Thank you.
Okay. Bye.